one thing that's commonly stated in jiu-jitsu is to pinch your knees, right? The idea being it's a lot easier to bend a pipe if you put it in a vise compared to if you're just trying to bend it in the air, right? It's a reference point. I can use my legs to control his shoulder and keep it from wiggling around, and it just gives me a tighter arm bar. But one thing that I've noticed, or something that I do, is instead of focusing on like just using my legs to pinch here, right, like a pair of chopsticks, it's not that great here. But what I want to do is I want to use my legs to reinforce my arms, right? Big thing, right? Because in order to allow my bones to structurally kind of keep control over this, his elbow and arm here, what I want to do is as soon as I get this Kimura locked up and I sit, I'm going to pinch my knees in so that my elbows are connected to my legs here, right? So instead of being here, if he decides to really pull his arm, or he's like really strong, he's going to be able to rip through this, right? Pretty easy, right? But once I pinch in my knees here, right, what happens is my forearm bones, what are they, radial ulna, right, are now connected in here. And I call it like the pin on a grenade, right? It keeps this locked into the rest of me here. If I pull this out, I now have no control over his arm. He can move it in, he can move it out, he can do whatever he wants, right? Bad for me. All right, so we want to think about, like, once I get this locked in, my knees come in and I'm actively setting my elbows on my legs here, right? At the same time, my hand helps pull down. So like, if my forearm's like the middle of a seesaw, right? I'm pushing down on one end so that this elbow raises up on the other side, right? Because again, for an armbar, I need to make sure that he can't pull his elbow to the floor, right? So if he wants to pull it down, that means I need to figure out how to pull it up, and that's what this allows me to do. It allows me to pull this elbow up to the ceiling, right? So I want to pull it nice and tight, and then set my legs underneath here, right? And I can either keep my Kimura grip and have like one elbow here, nice and tight chest, right? Or I can reach across here, and this is pretty good. I usually end up falling towards the head side when I do this, right? If I'm gonna cup the hip here, right? So you don't want your elbow to be able to fall through this space, right? If my knee is outside of my elbow, even if I have a Kimura grip, if he just turns here and gets his elbow down, he'll be able to. Yeah, right? And that hurts a lot, right? So I want to get this arm as deep as I can, right? If I'm just like gently cupping my thigh with my hand, my wrist is involved, he's going to be able to break through it, right? Even if I have a Kimura grip, right? If my wrist is the one engaged, is the thing engaged with his arm, he's just going to, right? You're going to roll with one roided out guy, and it's going to be not fun for you and your forearms, right? So instead, what I want to think about is I want the fattest part of my arm through here, right? And then once I eliminate all the space between my bicep and his arm, then I'm going to pull this up and make sure my legs are underneath my elbows here, right? And this allows me to really engage my whole body to this arm here, right? I want to be like fully attached, right? Where I can like hang off of it as much as I can. I can put in a lot of pressure just holding onto this, which makes a person think about, oh, I might need to tap. Like I need to hold onto this arm instead of thinking about any other sort of idea to escape that they can come up with, right? So we want to be super connected, right? Everything reinforced with everything else. My legs are reinforcing my arms, my chest is reinforcing my Kimura, like as little space as I can manage here, right? When we're doing things like spinning arm bars, right, what I look for is as I make my transition, right, I step and my hand is already looking to cut my leg here, right? So it's already super strong, right? That way it's going to be locked in, and when I sit, I've got this super deep here, right? And I know at least I'm going to hold on to it, right, until I can make my grip adjustment here. Right, usually I'll start throwing this leg over. Right. squish. So I'm catching right in my hand here. And that'll help pull up that elbow. I can switch here, lean towards the head, so now I can get this up. And I can either come back to a neutral, or generally I'll tend to hang off this arm here, right, where this is completely locked in, and I'm trying to pull his arms away from his ribs where he's going to be less strong. And I can just walk myself up to this arm and start breaking it down. Squish. Alright, but I'm making sure as I step through that my leg finds my hand here. Let's do this one. Yeah.
But so now, talk about your thing.
Alright, and then from here, if you want, you can start searching for this hip, right, to keep him from hitchhikers escaping. Hitchhiker escape, right? Or what I like to do is follow this side, get this leg over, and then play. I prefer this Kimura. So yeah, like the idea of using your bones, especially like your legs, to support your arms in whatever endeavor, is happening for them. My arms are weak inherently, and sometimes with Kimuras, you're going to be Kimuraing someone who's a lot stronger than you. And you can't just rely on your upper body strength. You got to figure out how to connect your legs to help support everything. This also shows up in our half guard Kimura here. This is a good angle. Right? So I get my Kimura here, right? And my goal is usually to get this foot on the hip, right? Not only does it allow me to keep track of his hip and gives me a little bit of distance control, but look, my leg here is now supporting my arm, right? So I can pinch down and use that. Now I feel a whole lot stronger than I actually am just because I have this leg helping out my arm here, right? I don't get that if I'm just doing this Kimura from half guard here. This Kimura is inherently more dangerous because now he's going to be able to manipulate my arm a whole lot better and easier because it's not supported by anything. All right, so Kimura is always characterized as a strong person's game, right? And for places like this, it is. It's right now. It's like, can I dominate your shoulder and control your elbow more than you? And we pretty much have the same resources here, right? But if you're able to get your legs involved, right? Now it's a different game, right? Where this is something that I can do on a person a lot stronger than me and feel comfortable that I'm not gonna get my own arms ripped out in the process, right? So here, allowing you to like pinch in and your legs and hips are now involved. All right, so let's say instead of stepping around and spinning here, right, a lot of the time instead, I'll just come up and grab this Kimura here. Right, the same thing if I do decide to sit back on the armbar. Right, what I want to do is, as I sit, once my butt hits the floor, I'm trying to pull my elbows back and locking everything into my hips here. Right, and I can put in a great deal of pressure, and I'm not afraid of him pulling his arm back to safety here. Right, and I can get it locked in so I'm not afraid of him pulling his elbow to the floor either. Right, but if I'm just chilling here, yeah, he's out. So it's gonna be problematic. You gotta pull that elbow up, get everything tight, and get everything like really focused in on this one small part of his arm, so he's not able to control that. Right, and then from here, this is a good place where we can start making our adjustments. Get the Kimura here. Alright. Pulling and getting my elbows back. That was a bad armbar. I kind of just threw it. Working on this, pulling this elbow back, and then cross facing here and having good pressure. So I can step over, get this Kimura here. Alright, if you want, right, because sitting back on the armbar without having the leg over is inherently going to open up the opportunity for the person on bottom to hitchhike or escape. One thing that you might be wise to do is throw this leg over in the beginning, right? So I need to be able to base out with my arm, so I can't throw this leg over easily if I have the Kimura here, right? So I'm gonna lean and then throw this leg over, and once I have the leg across, now I can lean towards that direction and sit on the arm, right? So I got the grenade pin in, right? From here, this elbow, actually. All right, once I'm in this armbar position, this elbow becomes something that I also pay attention to. What I don't want is for him to start being able to dig underneath my arm here, right? Or my leg. He'll be able to create space, he starts hiding his arms, and he gets really annoying really fast, right? So if we're here and I'm not already dominating this inside armpit space with my leg, right? That's what I'm looking to do here, right? I'm gonna hook my hip and I'm gonna drag his elbow up towards the top of his head. And if he wants to not get armbarred, he's gonna keep his far arm engaged and protecting his near side arm, right? So even if he's like trying to keep his elbows down, I'm able to use my feet to engage with the floor and push my whole body up and into this space. And now, once his elbows are away from his body here, I can bring my leg up and start digging out the arm. Right? So you can set up whatever defense you want. I like it when people do the rear naked choke defense, right? Because what happens is when I plant my leg and start pushing down, right, we're able to create a lot of pressure on this elbow here, right? And usually they'll allow me to slip that on. If they're really strong and they hold on and I'm not able to create that space, then I'll use this leg to start stripping it through. All right, another thing that I want to emphasize is like how to control and keep weight on a person here. Right, there's a tendency to sit back and be on the knees. Right, I only do this in order to lock up the Kimura grip here. Right, I'll keep good pressure, and then when I want to make this arm exchange, I back up so that I can move my arms around. Oh, sorry. Right, once I get this Kimura though, I go back to leaning forward. Right, and I'm trying to lift my legs and my feet off the floor. Right, I'm leaning into his ribs, my chest crushes his arm crushes into my forearm there, and that goes right into the ribs. Right, so even though my knees are touching, what I want is for there to be no weight, like they're not carrying me. I want his, two of these ribs in his torso holding my body weight up. All right, so I'm gonna lean in here, and now I can bring my legs over to make transitions into arm bars, or what I wanted to do, I hope you don't mind. We're leaning here. I can,
No, you're trying to do head scissors.
We got this head scissors.
I remember those.
So
I've been in those a few times.
yeah.
Those are nasty.
And then there's like triangles you can do there, whole bunch of stuff.
Don't sleep on the head scissors. Don't sleep on head scissors.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, you'll go out.